Persistent Rumor presents Chocolate Yoddah Live.
Hi folks, Chocolate Yoddah here, spelled Y-O-D-D-A-H, because film studios are litigious. And welcome to another installment of Chocolate Yoddah Live. Today is Wednesday, June 21st, 2023. And what a humdinger of a day it is. I woke up to the news of some interesting things happening, potentially very sad. This is the story of the sub that was on an expedition to check out the Titanic and has gone missing. And when I heard some of the details of the story, I immediately started thinking about the myth of Icarus. And very quickly, to summarize it, like all myths, there's, moral tales that you're supposed to take from them. And this is no different. And one of the most consistent themes that I've seen in Greek mythology is basically about the dangers of, thinking that you're a god if you're a human, or, hubris in general. And Icarus has that and one or two other elements to it. It's actually quite a bizarre story because it all starts with Icarus's father, Daedalus. And long story short, he's a murderer that is banished to the island of Crete. And he helps the queen cheat on the king with a minotaur or centaur, one of those. But he gets banished on that island. He has a son. Icarus is Daedalus' son, and he devises a way to escape the island by inventing wings. And he was a famous inventor. That's why he wound up where he wound up. But when he and his son took flight, he warned his son not to fly too close to the ocean because the wings would become waterlogged and he would sink into the ocean, and not to fly too close to the sun because the sun would melt the wax that glued the feathers together and, again, plunge into the ocean. So Icarus became very full of himself once he was able to fly, because it made him feel like a god, because gods and birds were the only ones that could fly. So when he became full of himself, that's when he started flying closer to the sun, and the sun melted the wings, and he plummeted into the ocean, where he died on impact. And there are a couple of tales there, right? The main one is about hubris and how dangerous that can be. The other one is about listening to your elders, of course. The other one is about defying royalty. There's a lot of lessons wrapped up in that story. And so why did I think of that story when I saw the story of the missing submarine? Well, I assumed something that my son confirmed for me right before we started rolling. And that is that the civilians on there were wealthy individuals who had paid $250,000 each to be on that vessel. And another interesting fact is that in tests, including one on live television, the guy who remote controlled the sub with a controller, by the way, that you could pick up at like Radio Shack or, any Walmart or something like that, right? It had lost connection with the sub before, and he lost control of the sub. So I'm guessing these people knew that. They might not have. Although, I know in situations like that, they make you sign waivers to say, basically, if you die, it's not our fault and your family can't sue us. So whether they knew of the previous mishaps or not, I'm not sure of right now. But here's what I do know. I know that someone was in a Tesla who crashed and died because while the car was driving itself, he decided to take a nap. And what that represents to me, and similarly to in connection with the people that went on this sub, is that, this blind faith in technology is potentially dangerous. And, it's as dangerous as it can get, right? You can die, and we rely on technology every day, right? But when I get in my car, I put on my seatbelt. And I got my driver license 7 years before it became a law in New York to wear your seatbelt. Why? Because I respect physics. And I respect the limitations of humans, myself included, me behind the wheel of my car and every other human behind the wheel of theirs. And so to just blindly trust that everything will go perfectly is a mistake, in my opinion. And that's what these people had to do in order to get on the ship. And to me, the money that they paid is the same as the wings that Daedalus constructed. That was the thing that facilitated the thing that got them in trouble, right? The money was the expression of their hubris, basically saying, hey, I'm rich, I can do what I want. And I just know that nothing can possibly go wrong with this technology because I'm here and I'm on it. And I don't know if anybody thought that specifically, but that's kind of what their actions represent to me. Again, I'd never go to sleep in a self-driving car because that would be my tacit assumption that this is going to go perfectly. And I know that it's going to go perfectly. And furthermore, I believe that there's absolutely no way that this can go wrong. And I think that's a really dumb and limited thought process. In the film, I think it was called Magnum Force, Harry Callahan, played by the inimitable Clint Eastwood, said, a man's got to know his limitations. And this is one of those times where people did not embrace their limitations. Because when you're talking about something 13,000 feet down in an area twice the size of Connecticut, you have to really have a tremendous amount of faith and hubris with regard to the idea that nothing can go wrong. And all it takes is one thing. One thing. The guy, didn't put the batteries in the controller right, or, an electrical storm knocks out a tower so that the signal gets lost, or the antenna breaks on the sub and can't receive the signal, or whatever. An octopus decides to make love to the submarine. Who knows? A lot of things can go wrong. And almost everything that could go wrong would likely fall under the category of things that nobody assumed could go wrong, right? It's only after the fact where people go, oh yeah, we got to prepare for that next time, right? But I don't want to be anybody's guinea pig. I don't want to be the guy that, tests the rocket. That's why these guys that, were test pilots, they were among the most amazing human beings on the planet. Oh yeah, think about what a fighter plane is, a jet plane. It is a rocket with wings attached to it. That's it. And wheels underneath to bring it back down. That's what it is. It's literally a rocket that some guy sits at the tip of and hopes to control. Under the best of circumstances, that's insanely dangerous. And then add the outrageous danger to this, where you say, yeah, we don't know exactly how this is going to work. We need you to test it, right? So is it hubris? Maybe. Is it unimaginable to me? Yeah, these are things that I just would never do. I respect the people that are willing to do it, but in the case of the civilians, did you think your money was going to protect you? My second ex-wife used to say, these rich people that want to ignore climate change, do they think the ice is not going to reach their house? Hi, Janine. How you doing? But seriously, like, I just am amazed by the decision process that some people make. And in extremes, it can be simultaneously sad and funny. An example of that, and I haven't checked if this site is still up. I hope it is. There's a site called the Darwin Awards, and they collect stories of people that make outrageously stupid decisions that cost them their lives. There's only one story on there with an exception. One guy who tied weather balloons to a lawn chair and wound up going so high that he was in airline traffic lanes, and eventually the balloons froze, but he came down slowly and survived, only to commit suicide 2 years later. So that's a story for another time. But other than that, that site is riddled with stories of people that made outrageously bad decisions, like the guy who strapped J-Star rockets to his car, or a J-Star rocket to his car, to make it road runner fast. And of course, he slammed into the side of the mountain because he couldn't stop the car. There was a mile-long trail of burnt rubber where this guy slammed on the brakes but couldn't stop, and then boom, went right into the side of a mountain. There was the guy that used a cattle prod to go fishing because he wanted to electrocute the fish, and fell over and electrocuted himself. Then there's the guy that spotted an elk on a ridge, shot it, the elk rolled down the ridge and crushed the guy to death. And I celebrate all these deaths. These are stupid people who are now out of the way to give me more oxygen for my big brain. I just can't feel bad for them. Like the guy that walked into a plant, like a gas plant or something, in a warehouse. The lights wouldn't come on, so he flicked a lighter so he could see and blew himself to smithereens. And I don't know what smithereens means, but I assume they never saw the guy again. Or they just might have found a couple of big chunks of him somewhere. These are dumb people. These are definitely dumb people. And now, I don't know if I could separate those dumb people from the dumb people who paid $250,000 to be a human sardine in a largely untested submarine. I'll let other people who know them well decide that for themselves. But for me, I think hubris killed them. Don't fly too close to the sun, Icarus. It'll get you. So that's all I have to say about that. And this is a relatively short one, I suppose. But, sometimes it bees like that. So for all the folks listening on Wisdom, thank you for joining me. I do this every day, Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Everybody, thanks for participating. Peace, love, and granola. Talk to you soon.